Welcome back to the 2025 Wisconsin Nuttycombe Invitational in Madison, Wisconsin. Whether you're watching on RunnerSpace.com or joining us on Big Ten Plus, we are 3/4 of the way through our schedule today, having just watched Grace Hartman and North Carolina State win the women's individual and team title in the championship race. The men here to follow shortly. I'm Paul Swangard, joined by NCAA champion, Olympian, podcast, entrepreneur, super track and field cross-country mom, Kara Goucher. Just a list of superlatives just continue.
Thanks, Paul. Notably, your sidekick for most track and field meets and marathons.
Going to get together in a couple weeks for that call of the New York Marathon as well. Weather here in Madison, I'm not sure they want those conditions in early November in New York. 72 degrees right now as we get set not for 3 miles or 5K or 9K. We're going 8K for the men. We talked about memorable winners, at least Mike J. did in that interview with Grace Hartman. As you look back on the list here, Parker Balby still has that course record. But, you know, if you were good at cross country, you can use a win here to do some great things in your career, as almost all those folks we have seen, you know, win NCAA championships. You know, it is definitely one of those races to be coveted in your credentials.
Yeah, a lot of these women go on to become Olympians, and so it's interesting to see this list. It's kind of cool to see where this race can lead to in your career.
Parker Wolf is the course record holder now, or Nuttycombe record holder rather, in this race, as he set that mark a year ago in 23:04. As Habtom Samuel, who we'll see coming up here shortly from New Mexico at Pre-Nat, set the course record 22:33. So let's talk about the men. 18 of the top 30 teams are here, including Iowa State, New Mexico, Colorado, BYU, Wisconsin, and Notre Dame, all among the top 10, though we have mentioned several times during the broadcast and also coverage leading up to this event on DieStat that Iowa State not planning to race their top runners today. We kind of saw that with Northern Arizona on the women's side as well. So, you know, this event serves a lot of different purposes for all these teams, and it's not just about winning the team title and running your best runners. It could very well be just to be here and test some others who, you know, maybe the ones you're trying to figure out for, you know, spots 4 through 7.
Right. Well, we just on the women's side, NC State run their best athletes and get the best out of their athletes and see where they're at. But on the men's side here with number 1 Iowa State, we won't see that, right, Paul? We're going to see sort of a different squad come in, see if some of those athletes deserve to be moved up to their A squad. So a lot of different teams with different objectives in the meet today.
Well, one objective for Habtom Samuel is to win this race and keep both shoes on. That was the big story in his race with Grand Blancs last year on this course for the NCAA title. He ran most of that NCAA championship minus one shoe, was still able to put together a championship caliber performance, but he'll have some good tests here. Tulane's Bernard Chariot is here, along with from Washington State, Solomon Kipchoge.
Well, I think a lot of people are looking at Samuel getting second place last year with losing a shoe, losing to Graham Blanks, who obviously is an excellent athlete, ran at the World Championships this summer in track and field and ran at the Olympic Games in Paris. So he's looking to really solidify himself as the favorite this year. You know, but in his pre-race interview, he really talked about the team and the importance of team and what he wants for that. So while he wants to win himself, he really cares about what's happening behind him with his teammates.
Kipchoge transfer from Texas Tech. He won Gans Creek earlier this season by 8 seconds in a new course record. There is a look at Habtom Samuel and the rest of the squad from New Mexico as they get themselves into their box after the final run-ups here, 3 minutes away or so from the start of this last race of the day. And I'm not sure you're planning to come to Madison, Wisconsin in mid-October and race in the low 70s.
No, this is a little bit warmer. Yeah, this is a little warm. This is not what they're expecting. I mean, we called this race, Paul, a couple of years ago, and it was muddy, and there were people falling because it was so muddy. This is a very different day today. This is on the warm side. We saw, mid 60s for those earlier two races. Now it's warmed up quite a bit. The course is still nice and dry and packed, so that's nice. But cross country in Madison, Wisconsin, you're hoping for something a little bit cooler than 72 degrees.
Samuel on the track was the NCAA champion of both 5 and 10,000 meters. Defending champion, or the pre-nats champion here a year ago. As we'll go across the line here. Northern Arizona, Harvard, Stanford, Notre Dame, California Baptist has put together some nice teams the last few years. BYU has their men's squad here, their women's squad racing at pre-nats, so some of these squads have kind of split their decision making for their chosen programs. Gonzaga, Indiana, NC State is among the group that is assembled. Again, top 18 of the top 30 teams of the country are here, as Washington State here on the near side rounds out the field for the 2025 edition of the Nuttycombe Invitational. Let's hope all the guys stay behind the line for the gun, because if you weren't joining us for the B race, go back and watch the highlight. We had what we believed to be a demonstrative false start, but they did not call them back.
It was a definite false start. It was a little bit strange to see in cross country.
Always want to remind these guys, don't need to wear a watch. We're timing this race for you. Of course, if it's not on your watch, it never happened, right?
Right. If you can't upload it to Strava, Paul, how do you prove that it happened? It didn't happen. Who cares about all the timing? I shouldn't talk. I go out there and time my son's meets, even though he has a bib and people time him. I'm still running around with my stopwatch timing him, so I'm one to talk.
I don't think my Swatch watch that I was wearing in the 80s could be uploaded.
No, it could not.
All right, officials in place. They'll be in the midst of that chaos. Gun is up. Watches are started. Our timing has started, and the race has started here in Madison, Wisconsin. It's the 2025 Wisconsin Nuttycombe Invitational. 18 of the top 30 teams in collegiate cross country on this spectacular but warm October Friday in Madison, Wisconsin. As we get them out onto the race course, we'll run through the various lists of starting athletes in the field, starting with number 6 BYU. But again, talent up and down these programs. Also been really interesting to see how programs have started to take advantage of, I think, a still in process changing of NCAA collegiate sports, particularly in the Olympic sports movement, with roster limits, NIL, international athletes coming in, the transfer portal as well, and it's going to be. I don't think we really yet know how things are all going to shake out, but it's giving coaches a chance to do a lot of different types of strategies to make their teams competitive very quickly.
Yeah, well, we've seen that at a lot of colleges. I think of even where I went to school, University of Colorado, there's a new coach there, and he's bringing in athletes that are ready to run fast now. And the former program was about development, and the current program is about keeping athletes sharp right now. And you're able to do that with the new transfer rules, with the ability to bring in the international athletes. It really is changing the game, and it's just. It's put a lot of pressure also on coaches to have good squads because you can transfer so easily. There's a lot of pressure on the coaches to constantly have squads that are ready to go. So it is just changing the game of NCAA cross country.
That's Joffrey Kerwa of Louisville, who has moved himself out into the early lead ahead of William Zagarski, the junior from Butler, who was 17th on this course last year at the NCAA championships. And then Habtom Samuel just kind of getting into a rhythm here, kind of demonstrative with his arm movement right here, just kind of getting himself into this rhythm as he makes a return appearance at the Zimmer Cross Country Course. You see North Carolina that had the winner last year in this race, with Parker Wolf setting a new championship record in this race of 23 minutes and 4 seconds. And now we'll get him into that wooded area for the first time, and a little bit more of undulations, but already, Kara, again, a little different than the women's race, even though that's a large group behind them. Just sort of feel like this front pack is pushing it just a little bit more strongly than the women did.
Yeah, this seems like they're running pretty aggressive. I think over the first kilometer, that's why we're seeing this stretch out, even though it is all sort of attached. It's not, right? There's people running a little bit more aggressively in the front. We see a little separation in that front group, so I think this is a quick pace. It'll be interesting to see if that course record is under attack. It feels like it might be early on here. Just an aggressive race from the start.
Again, that course record is the one owned by Habtom Samuel of 22 minutes and 33 seconds. He's in that group. He's right next to bib 2304. That's Colin Salmon and his brother Aaron in that great program in Flagstaff, and he's on the right side of your screen.
Well, Samuel has to come into this race with so much confidence, coming off of those 2 NCAA titles in the outdoor track, running so well here before. He knows this course, Paul. He's run it, and he's run it well, so he has to have a lot of confidence coming in here today.
Our splits at this race are at 2, 4, and 6 kilometers, so we'll have a chance to reset the leaders in this race as well as the team race behind them in short order. As we go back high above. Great shot from the drone. I guess the good news on a good day in mid-October is we can fly above the race course here, and that's just a spectacular view of the field that is out on the course here, with Samuel now taking control of the race.
And he's pressing this early on. This is different than we saw from the women's race, where they ran as a pack throughout the first 2 kilometers, even into the 3rd kilometer. He's pushing this early on before he even hits 2 kilometers. We saw from that aerial view, he had a little step on second place, which looked like it was Dominic Serum from Colorado. So this is a much more aggressive race than we've seen today from some of the other races.
Yeah, you mentioned Serum, who's the sophomore for the Buffaloes, had stints at both Toledo and Oklahoma. In fact, he was the first NCAA qualifier cross-country champs for Toledo in 49 years, was 5th at Gants Creek, and again, shifting sands and the transfer portal affording folks like Serum to find a new training environment and a team quickly to build around, and he's done that at Colorado. And Samuel has come through blistering the first 2 kilometers in 5 minutes and 34 seconds, as he's got about a 1.5-second lead on Serum. Vincent Chirchir of New Mexico is there, along with Justin Chipkoech of Eastern Kentucky, Kipchoge of Washington State, Kim Utai of Eastern Kentucky in 6th, and then Chariot of Tulane, Kip Rodich of New Mexico, and then Tavon Kitchen of BYU, the talented freshman who was a prep standout, sub-4-minute miler in high school out of Southern Oregon. He's sitting there back in 9th ahead of the Uruguayan Valentin Soca, who also just came off a long, extended outdoor track and field season as he qualified and raced in the finals the 5,000 meters in Tokyo just a month ago. As we look at the team totals right now, this 2K team split brought to you by Kara Goucher as a proud member of the University of Colorado Alumni Association. But Buffaloes, we talked about, this team, even when we were calling races, a year or 2 ago, in a different time, maybe even back to the time that you and I were running collegiate track and field, it would take time to rebuild a program. Yeah. But now you can do it and turn it on a dime.
I mean, this team has been rebuilt in a year, Paul, with recruiting and transfers and athletes. So it's really interesting to watch. you know, like even with NC State, we saw them with a rebuilding year last year, and they're back now. But this is a new squad from Colorado, a lot of new players. There's a few people still there that have been here, but a lot of new players on the squad this year.
And as we mentioned at the beginning of the race, Iowa State not planning to run their top runners in this race today, and just sort of confirming that reality for them. They're back, well back of the leaders in the team race in 15th overall. So again, different strategy and tactics for the folks from Iowa State today, but that does afford folks like Colorado to make their case as one of the top teams in the country, maybe thinking about a podium finish in Missouri in November at the NCAA Championships. New Mexico second overall in that team race, but only 2 points separating those two squads through the first quarter of the race.
Well, the front of this race has gathered a little bit here. Samuel, it's almost like he backed off a little bit, allowed everyone to catch up, and now they're sort of gathering for another surge later on in this race. The lead pack just keeps getting bigger and bigger, so they've slowed a little bit in the front here.
New Mexico with 3 athletes in the top 8. Eastern Kentucky with 2 in the top 6. Looking at BYU, as it's easy to pick out their blue singlets as well. You see Kitchen. They're part of that group that's now, he's trying to fight through almost Cole Hocker style here on the cross-country course. No disqualification for that, I don't think. He was just looking for room to run. But the freshman from BYU trying to attack this little rise here, and has, for the moment, put himself into the lead. David Thompson, his teammate, the senior for BYU, was 20th at Gans Creek and was 50th here last year as BYU's number 5 runner. You know, for a squad that won an NCAA title last year on this course, BYU, you know, really having to kind of reinvent their program, and it's great to see someone like Kitchen, you know, making his appearance known as a freshman, but also the guy who was number 5 in that race now kind of taking on sort of that leadership role in his senior campaign.
Yeah, they really graduated the majority of their team last year, but one thing BYU has on both the men's and the women's side is depth. And so they always have another crop of athletes ready to move up and take over, and that's what we see right now. Incredible depth from BYU always on both the men's and the women's side.
Well, Sarum, I got caught a little bit with a quick discussion with Thompson of BYU, but they're all back and running again. It seemed like it slowed down just a bit there, and again, you saw kind of this compression again of that lead group, and you can see it here from high above. It's you know, still numbers probably into the high teens, low 20s, but they are now kind of running as a pack, maybe 2, maybe 3 seconds separating first from the back of that pack.
Yeah, and when you're in a pack like that, you're going to get clipped, right? Like, especially when the pace slows and the pack compresses up against each other, you're going to get clipped. It's just part of racing. No one's doing anything wrong. People are probably getting clipped in that pack right now. It is what it is. We talked about this earlier. You know, when you're running and you're in the middle of that pack, you have no control over what anyone's doing around you, and you really you're at the whim of everyone around you, and you have to really pay attention so that you don't run up on anyone or get tripped.
0.2 of a kilometer away from halfway home at the 2025 Wisconsin Nuttycombe Invitational. As we're again beginning to see some insertion of pace here, they're going to do a little bit of a climb and then again reach that timing mat that'll afford us the opportunity to reset the field at 4 kilometers. As Thompson comes off the hill with a bit of run in his legs, and he's going to move to the lead, and he will actually have the lead as they come right across those mats. That is the halfway point, and Thompson the leader at 11:39 on the clock. And Sarum, Samuel, Chariot, Kitchen, Cheer, and Karui. That's your top 7. As BYU now with Thompson and Kitchen leading this race to the halfway point.
Well, Paul, this is a little reminiscent of what we saw on the men's B race with BYU athletes, another Kitchen, who took the lead at 4 kilometers and really got that race going. That's what we sort of see in this one. It's almost as if we know what the race strategy was from at Eyestone, which was like wait until 4 kilometers and then get going. So that's what we're seeing now in this A race as well.
Well, a lot of talent surrounding those two from BYU as they look around and said, oh, we didn't get rid of anybody.
No one.
Keeping that camera on the halfway mark as well, so keep an eye on those other runners out on the course in case you're tuning in for a specific runner or a specific team. The team race being updated here in real time with New Mexico with a really nice spread right now. They've got, you can see the spread of 1.2 seconds between their top runner and fifth runner, 3rd to 19th place for New Mexico, and 6.6 seconds the spread for Colorado as they now are in second. BYU with that green arrow next to that 170 points, noting that they have moved up in the standings since the last split at 2 kilometers.
Well, this has been an interesting race on the men's side. No clear front runner. Obviously, we have a leader right now, but everyone's still right there and waiting. And Samuel, who was kind of one of our big favorites, who knows this course so well, who led for a while, seems content to sit back a little bit and let this unfold.
A little bit of a weave there, as you can see that athletic course tracker showing you where they are out on this course as they roll towards the 5 kilometer mark of an 8K race. And Thompson of BYU continues to lead here.
Thompson keeps looking over. As you said, he hasn't really shaken anyone. Everyone is still there, so he needs to make a decision. He doesn't want to give up his own placement by dragging everyone around. So now he's slipped back a little bit, and hopefully he'll just be able to ride on these athletes and continue his pace without having to do much of the work.
I think that's Bernard Chariot now, who's decided to take matters into his own hands, is going to put himself in a leadership position. You see Samuel emerging from behind him, now in that top 5, but this lead group beginning to press just a little bit. "15 minutes elapsed on this race course in Madison, Wisconsin. Less than 3 kilometers to a Nuttycombe title."
Well, I think that this move by Chariot is real because we start to see everyone not quite in single file, but definitely stretching out more than we've seen at any point so far in this race. So this is a real pickup of pace, and people are having to commit to it. And maybe they're getting on that train and just hoping to ride it out a little bit because they still have 2.5 kilometers to go. There's still a lot of running left in this race.
You see Samuel, Sarum of Colorado, Kipchoge of Washington State. And Carouette less than half a kilometer, and this race is totally shifted.
It's totally shifted. We have a front pack now. Colorado Sarum has been running really well. You know, he's always been towards the front, but he hasn't actually led. He's been content to sort of follow whoever is in the front. So I'm curious to see how much he has left over these final stages of this race. It seems like he's run a really smart race. And Samuel, who I thought might try to run away with this, but he let everyone come back to him. So we see him on the right there too, still looking really good. Good knee lift. Interesting strategy out of him. I think he still has a lot left in the tank.
Get another split here at 6,000 meters. Again, they ran the second 2K in 6 minutes. after a 5:34 opening kilometer. As there's Salmon again of northern Arizona, but they're coming to this 6 kilometer spot right now, and the leaders have just gone over the line as Bernard Chariot's got the lead at 17:25.8. So he's gone under 6 seconds for that last kilometer, Kara, and beginning to think that this pace is going to quicken even more for the last kilometers as you see Samuel now up and on his toes, but still behind Chariot of Tulane, the sophomore, and then Kipchoge, the sophomore from Washington State, the sophomore from Boulder, Sarum, and the junior Kiplagat of New Mexico right ahead of his sophomore teammate Collins Kiprodich. So no senior classmen in the top 6, as Thompson of BYU back there in 7th, the lone senior among that group of top runners.
Well, they're moving now. I agree with you, Paul. I think it's just going to keep getting faster and faster. Look at the damage they've done to the rest of the field. They've really pulled away now. And the race is on for the individual honors. It's really looking like a pack of potentially 5 now. And they are moving. And you can see they have just stretched out this lead. You see Thompson of BYU, who had the lead at 4 kilometers, they have gapped him quite a bit now as they make this drive over the final 1.5 kilometers for home.
Well, we've noted on several different points of kind of the changing dynamics of collegiate sports, and some great reporting over the course of the last several weeks on some of the efforts being made to validate times and performances of international runners. But New Mexico is absolutely controlling this race through an all international contingent. And look at the gear shift that Samuel just put on this field. Kipchoge trying to cover it, but that was as demonstrative a move I've seen in a cross-country race in quite some time.
I mean, you could just see that. You could see the power through his arms and the way his knee lifted up that hill. That was a move that he was planning on making. And right now he's just starting to stretch it out. As you said, they tried to respond, but it happened so quickly right up that hill. And that's, Paul, that's what happens when you know a course and you've been there before and you know exactly where you can make your move. So I felt like at the beginning he might try to run away with this, but then he settled back. But obviously he knew where he was going to go, and look at the lead he's developed in such a short period of time.
Well, it's the good news as we get back to the coverage from the lead vehicle. He's got both shoes on, which was the difference maker for him in that race and battle with Graham Blanks last year on this course for the NCAA title. But here now in swift flight, Habtom Samuel of New Mexico trying to close out a win here at Nuttycombe, being chased by Solomon Kipchoge and also Bernard Chariot of Tulane and Sarum of Colorado, who looks like he is now fading and falling out the back there in 4th.
Well, after that quick and decisive move by Samuel, he really has built a good lead now, and he continues to pull away and looks very good. Less than a kilometer to go. He knows this course. He knows what's left to come. He knows what's up ahead, and he just looks as dominant as can be at this point. I mean, look at the knee lift. Look at the arm drive. He looks super strong at this point.
We'll see if Chariot can make up any ground on Kipchoge here in the battle for second. Sarum continues to fade back to the group behind him, so we'll see if he can hold on for what looks like 4th position right now. That's important because Colorado 2nd overall in the standings here against New Mexico. Northern Arizona in 3rd through 6 kilometers, with BYU and Washington State rounding out the top 5. But coming off the hill, Samuel now with a half kilometer to go. Does look like Kipchoge is at least staying within, call it 25, 30 meters. Hard to tell from this straightaway shot, but Samuel continues to at least have some level of concern as he looks behind him once again just to kind of see where he is in relation to the others.
Well, he just looks so good on those uphills. The way he was able to power up those was really impressive, and now he can kind of roll on these downhills and continue to stretch out his legs. But really, Paul, the difference was those uphills. He just powered away there.
One final look from high above as he will make the turn for home. He's got the arch now in sight, and he's got victory in sight here as he will take a commanding lead into this final 0.3 of a kilometer that'll take him to that arch and the finish line. 23:04 is Parker Wolf's winning time from a year ago. That is also the Nuttycombe championship record. And Samuel weaving his way, celebrating his way to victory after putting in a gear shift that no other runner had a gear to match. Habtom Samuel is the winner. He'll go under 23 minutes and should be confirmed here momentarily as the new Nuttycombe championship record holder, with Kipchoge and Chariot finishing second and third, and Sarum holding on for fourth. See New Mexico getting a second runner in, now a third runner for the Lobos, just behind Soka of CBU. And we'll keep an eye on, there's another New Mexico runner coming in, waiting for official results here, which are delayed, which we apologize for. We'll get those to you as soon as we have them. But watch the rest of the finishers here. And Kara, that last 2 kilometers by Samuel, I mean, he not only did he shift, but he just absolutely committed to that and built a steady and a solid lead all the way there to the end.
I mean, it's almost as if he was toying with that field in the whole race, Paul. He went out hard, looked like he could just run away with it. He stopped, he backed up, he gathered with the rest of the crowd. And then when he had had enough, he just blasted it away from everyone. So that was a very impressive race for him, by him. It shows you that he's in great shape. He knows what he's doing. And honestly, we don't know the team scores yet, but his team looked very impressive as well. We just saw New Mexico after New Mexico athlete finish at the finish line there. So it looks like it was a very good day for New Mexico. I think this is going to be a day to remember for them and give them a lot of confidence heading forward into the season.
And we're noting those results on the screen are still from the 6,000 meter split. And again, timing at the event site is down, so we're not receiving the data as well here. So we apologize for that delay, and we'll get them to you just as soon as we can. But Samuel made it easy calling the win as he took the victory in impressive fashion here on a sunny and warm day in Madison, Wisconsin in mid-October. And would appear that New Mexico, just as NC State did on the women's side with Grace Hartman and the rest of her Wolfpack teammates, take both the individual and team wins at Nuttycombe. Waiting for Mike J to get in position so we can hear from Samuel here. We'll keep the camera on the finish line as well as the final runners come through. And again, still waiting on those official and final results, and we'll have those for you just as soon as we get them from the timer on site. So, Kara, we're still waiting for those results to populate, but in the meantime, regale us with reflections from Nuttycombe today.
Well, it was a great day of cross country, a little warm for the men, but a great day. And it's just, this is one of the bigger meets before that championship season starts where they're trying to qualify for the NCAA championship. So we got a lot of information today. I have to say NC State on the women's side looking very, very good. New Mexico on the men's side looking very, very good. So it just gives us a little peek of what's to come. Really love this course and love the setup of the big white start line. Just fun to be here today and watch this and see these athletes compete.
So the last athlete's getting across the line, and we are moments away from hearing from the winner on the men's side, Habtom Samuel of New Mexico, as he's now in position with Mike J to reflect on the win here in